Hello, everyone. We want to thank you for joining us today for our current video coverage segment, Monday, June 13th. Today, we're going to be talking about a very serious issue, which has a lot of people split. And first and foremost, we want to give all our prayers and thoughts out to those affected in the Orlando tragedy that occurred recently. And we'll be talking about something that we think is on a lot of people's minds. We've seen it all over social media, so we're going to discuss it a little bit and give our opinions. And as always, feel free to comment below. Let us know how you feel about the situation. And we'll be back in a minute.
Hello everybody, my name is Anthony Cortez Haynes, here with my co-host Ricardo Segura, and today we are going to be talking about the Orlando tragedy, which brings up a lot of different mixed emotions on a certain topic, and that is gun rights. I don't believe that we should be able to have guns. I understand it's a right, and I understand all that, but I do not believe that citizens should be able to go out and buy especially automatic weapons, because you see what happened right now in Orlando.
Yeah, I think, and again, we're stating our opinion here. And as always, comment below. If you agree, you agree. If you disagree, you disagree. But we just want to take this time to let people know our stands on it. And I think we are probably outnumbered, and we're pretty much on the unpopular side of things, where we're both very against guns. And it's interesting because I used to be for guns. I was one of those guys who I wanted to learn how to take them apart. I wanted to go to shooting ranges. Like, that was me. I appreciated a gun, but at the end of the day, a gun to me, it's a weapon. They're made for one specific reason, and that's to harm others. So sometimes when you take that into consideration, it's easy for me to make that sacrifice, and it's not even a big one. It's not that huge of a sacrifice for me to say, you know what, maybe, just maybe, guns aren't that important, and like you said, I know they're a right. It's in the Constitution, and the right to bear arms, and I'm no one to say I want to take your rights away, but sometimes you just have to look at the bigger picture and think about all those affected every day by tragedies like this, and the families of those that are affected by the Orlando tragedy. And there's a lot of different things that people are pulling from this incident, and regardless of what it is, one issue that's always a topic are guns.
Recently, something that I wanted to bring up was the amount of school shootings also that has just been happening and happening and happening. And there's been 186 of them since Sandy Hook, and they're not really getting covered on the news. They're not being covered in media because now we are so desensitized to gun violence in general. There's shootings every day where multiple people are being injured. And I don't understand how the media isn't covering this. Like, not saying that they're not covering it, but I feel like the only way that's any gun violence gets covered nowadays is something outrageous has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Something crazy where people are really affected, just like what just happened in Orlando. And people are looking at the micro. Everyone's looking at the micro. They're talking about my gun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have my gun taken away. It's my right. Well, think about the country as a whole. Don't think selfishly about you. Think about the country as a whole. Think about if we did live in a society where there was more guns, what would happen? Do you want to live in the wild, wild west where every time you get road rage, you decide to pull out your gun and just start shooting?
And it's scary because a world full of guns, and people claim that the world will be a lot safer. And I respectfully disagree. I don't think the world will be a lot safer. I think it'd be a lot scarier. And a lot of times, people's argument in these kind of situations, especially with this tragedy, and I've seen it, I know you've seen it, is the argument of, well, if someone was armed who was trained in how to use a firearm, this wouldn't have been as bad as what it was. And you have to take that into consideration and say, well, you're putting someone with a firearm, let's say, who was trained in a firearm, and you're putting them in a very dangerous situation where there's mass chaos. This isn't calm. This is mass chaos. There are people running, there are people screaming, and there are gunshots. It's not easy for someone to just take out a firearm and just attack an attacker. That's not easy. Think about the innocent lives that you could affect by pulling out a firearm and just going out and say, well, I have to save people, let me just open fire. It's not as simple as that. It's, in my opinion, it can be somewhat more dangerous because every bullet that person fires could be hitting an innocent bystander. So when people say, if someone was just trained or had a firearm, maybe it wouldn't have happened. And for me, I respectfully disagree on that matter.
There was something that you brought up to me earlier when we were speaking about this, about, I think it was the UCC gun shooting in California.
The Oregon shooting?
Yes, with
Yes.
where there was
Mm-hmm.
people on hand
Yes.
with guns. So there was a shooter, and there was also other people with guns, and I think they were military.
I can't say for sure, but I do know that they were armed.
Multiple people.
Yeah, multiple people were armed.
Carrying guns. First off, in a no-gun zone.
Yeah.
First off, it was a no-gun
It was
zone.
a gun-free zone.
But the fact that they had guns, and there was a shooter going around shooting, and what did they do? Nothing. So the argument of saying, oh, well, if they have guns, more people have guns, then we'll be able to take out the bad guys, doesn't hold water with me right now. We're seeing this every single day. More and more people are being affected by gun violence, and I feel like the only way that anyone is going to take it seriously is when it happens to you, or happens to someone you know. And it's ridiculous that it's
sad,
going to
yeah.
have to come to that. That's a joke.
Yeah, it's
that it's
sad.
like, oh, well, especially because it's a me society with my gun rights and my this. Okay, well, when it happens to your son or your family member or your daughter, your whatever, then you will be the person that's upset. And I don't want to come off angry and be like, well, are you stupid? But I feel like it's talking to children. Another thing you told me earlier, do you want to tell them about the internet? Mention the internet thing.
The
School, internet.
school, internet.
When we were kids.
When we were kids, and this happened. This was an elementary school, and we were given availability to use the internet, and we were allowed to use the internet. And a lot of us were like, "Oh wow, we get to use the internet on computers. This is great." And one kid used the internet to do something inappropriate. So because that one kid did something inappropriate on the internet, it wasn't that one kid got punished. They took internet from everybody. And at the end of the day, it wasn't something that we were upset. We were just like, oh man, now we don't get to use the internet because James over here decided to do something inappropriate with the internet. So the teacher felt it was in the best interest to just take it away because they found how easy it was. They just saw how easy it was for one of us to get on there and to do something with it we weren't supposed to be doing. And it's very similar with firearms. It's very, very, very easy to use a firearm. It's very, very easy. And it seems that a lot of people are like, well, gun laws aren't really going to change anything. And they're like, well, gun laws are in effect. They are in effect, but how strict are these gun laws really? Like, how strict are they? I mean, people are getting these weapons legally, and they're still committing these acts.
And that's something that blows my mind about the Orlando shooting, is that this guy bought his guns legally. At the end of the day, that's what happened. He bought the guns legally. It wasn't like he smuggled them or got them from the bad guys. He got them legally. Mm-hmm. He got them, I don't know if it was from a store, but however he got it, store, trade show, whatever. He bought the guns a week or two prior to the incident.
And
it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Like, first off, why are you selling assault rifles? Why can a citizen get that? That to me is uncalled for. Because what is the point of an assault rifle? What is the point? You're not shooting deer with an assault rifle. What are you selling assault rifles for?
And the word, it says assault. It's in the name. It's an assault rifle. And the fact that people can easily get this, it just blows my mind. I mean, it's harder to get a driver's license than it is to get a gun. You know, there's no written test that you have to take to get a gun. They do a background check, you get your fingerprints done, and that's usually it. And 9 times out of 10, when these people commit these horrible, horrible acts, their background's clean. It's clean. They've done nothing up to this point, and you don't need to have a dirty background to do something insane today. You know, a lot of these people do it legally. They get their guns, they purchase them, they do all the paperwork, and like you said, this guy had a week. He planned it, he purchased his weapons, and a week later, this was happening. Okay, and I believe he was also a security officer, and he went through the legal ways of getting these firearms. So a lot of times people are like, gun laws aren't going to change anything. And I said, well, how strict are these gun laws that we currently have? I don't think they're that strict. And you know, I'm one of those guys that's like, when I look at this, I don't own any guns. And I remember I wanted to own a gun, and the more that this thing happens, day in and day out and day in and day out, I kind of look and go, you know what? Guns aren't that important to me. They're just not. I don't feel the need to own a gun. I don't feel the need to have a gun. And a lot of people have their reasons. Well, I want a gun for protection. I want a gun because I enjoy going to a shooting range and doing this. But at the end of the day, how important is it when people are losing their lives every day? Take that into consideration, that people are dying every day. You had an incident in Orlando where a son was talking to his mom through a text message, and he was in the bathroom, and he was just like, Mom, I'm going to die. He has us trapped. And the mom's just trying so hard to reach her son. Those were their last words that they shared between each other, was panic, because a man could so easily and excessively get an assault weapon and go into this place and just open fire and mass chaos. So for me, I don't see the importance of owning the gun, and maybe you do. And again, feel free to comment. If you own guns, feel free to say, hey, I own guns, and this is why I own guns. And this is what I do with my guns, and these are the guns I own. Feel free to debate and say why you feel the way that you do. We're just telling you how we feel. I feel like it's senseless. It's complete nonsense. And if I offend you with that, that's not my intention. That's not either of our intention, to make you feel like, oh, you got to get this up. That's not. I just don't see the sense in it when innocent people are just dying so often. It's easy for me to go, you know what? I don't need them. I just don't need them.
Again, and they want to, and I mean, if I'm offending you, I apologize. But I know the debates, because I went through them yesterday on Facebook. I know the debates. People are saying, well, the bad guys are going to get the guns no matter what. Yeah, they're going to get the guns. No. Okay, this is how I see it. Like, Australia took away guns in 96.
1996.
And do you know how many gun massacres they've had since then? Zip. Nada. None.
Zero.
Why? Oh, man. Well, if you take the gun away, people are still going to get them and shoot stuff up. Well, it didn't happen. And I don't want to go that far, but I want to say that bombs, people, like, let's say bombs. Let's say bombs.
Okay.
Bombs. Which one's easier? You answer that. Comment below. Which one do you think is easier to make? A bomb? Or do you think it's easier to pull the trigger on a gun? Because I'm positive that anyone age 6 and up can pull a trigger. Positive. But no one six, maybe to buy the things for a bomb, like, I'm not 100% sure.
No, we don't know how to make a bomb. And there's a science to it. Like, there's a science to making an explosive. There's a science to it. A gun, it's simply just buying a gun and pulling a trigger. That's it. And I'm sure in Australia, when they banned guns, there was probably some people very upset. But if you look at it now, their last shooting or tragedy was 1996, and there hasn't been one since. Not one. If you can find it, comment below. Put it there in the description. Do it. Just right there in the description box. Put it in the comment section. If you can find one, let us know. Because there isn't one. There hasn't been one. And there's a lot of other places that implement these super, super, super strict gun laws. Make it to a point where you can't even get a gun. You can't. You just can't get one. And these places are just so low in that type of crime. And over here, it's just so high. And I think it comes down, like you said, a lot of us are just desensitized to it. Just very, very desensitized here.
And one thing, because of having the internet and everything in the current age that we live in, you can speak to people around the world. There were people commenting on my Facebook status about this yesterday, saying, hey, I live in Australia. We don't have these problems. I have people in Germany saying, hey, we live over here. There was a girl in the UK that said, I couldn't imagine living somewhere where people can freely buy guns. Like, couldn't imagine, because it's a gun. It's a weapon. It's something that will kill you. It's not a knife. So let's take the whole situation and put a knife in place of this assault rifle. 5 people die. Maybe. If you see a dude with a knife, let's say he had a huge sword. Mm-hmm. Okay, someone's getting caught. Like, he's getting caught.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not this thing where you can stand 50 feet away from people and just go...
And spray a house. You just can't.
And then 20, 30 people are done.
Because my big stands on it, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, we can't stop all crime. We can't stop evil. We can't. It's going to exist. That's the way it is. All we can do as a society and as a nation is save as many people as possible. That's it. So like you said, if someone goes in with a knife, he could probably take 1-3 people before someone says, oh my God, this guy's in here doing this, and jump in. You know what I mean? You're still going to lose lives. One life is too many people lost. It's way too many. One. But consider that you lost 1 instead of 53. You lost 1 instead of 100 people going to a hospital. You lost 1, you lost 3, you lost 5. It's a tragedy. No life weighs more than the other. It's a tragedy no matter how you look at it. 5 is too much, 3 is too much, 1 is too much. But over 100 people were injured and over 53 people died. And that could have been avoided. And it just goes like, okay, what's the option that could save more people? Because you can't save them all. We know this through history. We can't. We're surrounded by tragedy all the time. I'm just about what's going to save as many people as possible. And unfortunately, for a lot of you people out there, my opinion is that just stop making guns accessible to just normal civilians. Like I don't see a need to own one. Why do I need one? I don't need one. I don't think you need one. We don't need one. We don't walk down the street and go, I need to carry a Glock. I need to carry an automatic assault rifle. Like I just don't see why we need it. But like you said, people comes down, it's mine. It's my right. It's my gun. And it's like, yes, it is yours. But at any point, do you ever look at it and go, well, maybe, just maybe, they're not that important? And I've seen people debate and say, oh, well, you're going to start banning other things? You're going to ban cars for people driving under the influence and crashing into someone and killing them? And before you go off, because I know you're about to, a car, when you put it on a piece of paper, a car is a form of transportation. It can be used with deadly force. It can. It's a form of transportation. A gun is simply a weapon. Its sole purpose is to inflict harm, pain, and or death on someone. As where car incidents happen, but that's not a car's focus. And it's harder to get a license and a car before a gun. It's harder for that than it is a gun. Now do your thing.
My thing is that people that argue about why they should be able to have their gun have never really been in danger with having a gun. The big argument is, how am I going to protect my family? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Well, when I was, I think, 8 years old, 8, 9, 10, around that age, I was held up in a store with a gun in my face. Not a little handgun, but a huge rifle put in my face. A child. So I want you to think of your 8-year-old kid with a rifle put to their face. Okay? So when you're like now, because I can see the comments now. I can see the comments now. People are like, man, they don't know what they're talking about. Man, I'm going to keep my gun. America. Like, I've went through something like that. Like, I've had a gun to my face. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a, ha ha ha, let me play with a gun. It was a man saying, hey, I'm robbing the store. You're here. You're a kid. You're going to sit on the ground. I'm going to put a rifle to your nose at one point, and you're going to sit there. How much money do you have in your pocket? Cool. I'm going to rob this place. I'm going to get out. So now think about that. Think about a child in that situation. In this world with more guns, where everyone should be smart and use guns. It doesn't make sense. It will affect people for the rest of their lives. The rest of their lives. Like you just said, cars are made for transportation. Guns are made for harm. Whether it be harm to an animal, whether it be harm to another human being, what else do you use guns for besides shooting targets in preparation to shoot an animal or a human, killing animals, which is good, go, have your hunting time. I don't want to go on a moral high ground and be like, oh, well, animal cruelty is wrong. I don't want to say nothing about that. This is about gun violence, okay? This is about what people are doing with the guns. And I understand that there are plenty of people that hunt. Great. But think about your fellow man before you think about the 4 hours on a Sunday that you use to hunt.
It's just, it's, will you really miss it? Will you really miss it? I mean, obviously.
Go fishing!
Like, will you really miss it? It's, you go, and again, what do you use your guns for? Let us know. But I know people who just enjoy going to a shooting range and just shooting targets. Will you miss it if it's gone? Like, is it going to affect you that much to the point where you go, I'm just so miserable, man. I used to go every week and go to a shooting range, and they took that from me. It's gone now.
There's
like,
no way I can fill that time.
Like, are you really gonna miss it? And if you are, let us know. Just whatever. But I don't see how one would just go, you know what, I can't believe they did it. And they talk about their rights. Yes, there's been rights for a lot of other things in history, and we're not going to go through those. There have been people where, like, back in my day, I had rights to own a black person. You know, and that was a thing. That was a right that was given to people. And you look at those rights now and you go, that was barbaric. That was wrong. It's kind of leaning towards that. If we can't have nice things, and guns aren't even nice things. If you can't have certain things, you take them away. It's the same thing with a child. Because you can't have nice things, you take it away. If you find how easily something is to harm someone, you go, you know what, let's take it back. When things go on the market for sale, if they find out that this could be harmful to certain people, they pull it back. They go, oh, certain people this could harm. It doesn't affect everybody, but for certain people, pull it back. It's the same thing here. It's just my reasoning. Again, this is how we feel about the situation. It's too easy. It's too easy. 8 times out of 10, and I'll go on record saying that 8 times out of 10, I'm sure when these tragedies happen, these guns are legally purchased. Legally. The guy that shot the movie theater for The Dark Knight, legally purchased firearms. The Orlando shooting, legally purchased firearms. They also caught the guy that was going to LA this week, going to the LA Gay Pride Parade.
Sandy Hook.
Sandy Hook legally purchased firearms. So when people say gun laws aren't going to do anything, I'm like, how strict are these gun laws? I bring it back to that. How strict are these gun laws? And I get to the point where I just wipe my hands and say, you know what? We don't need guns. Just take the guns. I don't need them. I don't need them.
It's sickening. It's really sickening how guns are even built into the society like they are, where everyone feels an empowerment, like you need this gun. But like he's saying, how much do you really need it? What is it going to change? And I know there is going to be someone that says, well, what if the government tries to take over or police want to take over? Blah, blah, blah. No. Okay, let's say that happens. I don't know, like, that happens. I mean, are you going to be able to stop it because you have a little gun?
Let's be real. If the government ever decided to overthrow us...
They're taking us over regardless.
You think you have a gun that's going to change anything?
Like, if someone busts in here right now, takes us down, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to be like, whoa, all hands on deck. We got this. Because most people aren't even educated with guns. And then the argument becomes, well, everyone should be educated on guns and own guns. But who wants to live in a world that is the wild, wild west? We have evolved from then. We have progressed. We are in the process of becoming smarter every single day. So why would you regress to a time where people were getting shot in saloons and just riding horses everywhere? Like, why would you want to be in that barbaric state? We should be a civilized society along with the rest of the world. There's plenty of countries right now that have extremely strict gun laws. Why? Because they don't think people dying is worth it.
They don't.
That's what it comes down to.
And they're not even that upset about it now. Like I said, I'm sure in Australia when they got banned in 1996, people were probably just really upset. And you look at it now, and it's much better. You don't hear about these things down there, and it's crazy because those saloons you talk about now are schools. Movie theaters, shopping malls. Like, it's terrifying that you are afraid to send your kid to school, that anything like this can happen. And you don't think that what goes through your mind or what shouldn't go through your mind is like, oh, well, I don't know if a crazy person is going to show up at the school today. But it's like, it's so easy to get these guns that you have to be on fear 24/7. When I go to the movies, and I was talking about this with you earlier, and this is not a joke. Whenever I go to the movies, it goes through my head that at any moment it's very, very easy for someone to just walk in here and do that. And this isn't to talk about security. This isn't to talk about maybe they should have guards. No, it's talking about how easy it is to get these guns and make these things happen. And that to me, like, we live in a terrifying world. And it surprises me because, again, this world is so terrifying. And yet people are still just like, no, these are mine though. But these are mine. I'm not doing anything. Why do I have to suffer because this person did something tragic with their weapons? Like, why do I have to give up mine? It's a small sacrifice. I'm telling you, it's a small sacrifice. It's not big. That sacrifice of us being able to say, you know what, maybe guns aren't that important. Maybe we just don't need them. Maybe us as civilians, we don't need them. And maybe if we just don't need them that much, more people would be alive. It's just one of those things where you weigh, it's like, how important is a life? It didn't affect you. Like, this doesn't affect you, and you can go on your social media and go, my thoughts and prayers are with them, but don't take my guns away. And there shouldn't be a but in that statement. There should never be a but, because now you're taking away from the real issue. It's like, oh man, it's really unfortunate what happened to those innocent people, but, and it's like, no, there shouldn't be a but. The main focus should be those people. How do we stop these things from happening? How do we stop this from continuing? It's enough is enough. It's just enough is enough. Again, you put a knife in a situation, things are still going to happen. Explosives, things are still going to happen. It's about saving as many lives as you can. And I feel the best way to do that is to take away one of the easiest accessible items on the planet, which happen to be firearms.
And another thing is, people are lazy. People are lazy. I want to go back when you said explosive. People are extremely lazy, and we know this. The ease of doing this, it's so much easier than building the bomb. Another point I do want to get on is hate, okay? People will always hate other people. It's always going to be there. We cannot control that. What we can control is people having guns, and the people that hate other people, what they can get their hands on. You get what I'm saying? As long as if we can take that out of the situation, we can't take away mental illness and the people that are mentally ill and they do these kind of things. We can't take away people that hate other people because they don't like their beliefs, what they do, any of that. But you can control the common denominator in all of these, which are the guns.
Yeah, that's what we can control. We can't control hate. That's going to be around forever. There are many forms of hate. There's all types of it, and like you said, we can't control that. So what can we control? We have to take advantage of what we can control. We could take control of firearms. And again, I know this is unpopular. I know a lot of people don't want to hear this. Again, you're free to speak your mind and say whatever you want. This is our opinion on the matter. We have to control what we can control. And we can control guns. We just have to choose to do so. It's literally up to the people. It's up to the people. It's up to us. And unfortunately, people like you and I are extremely outnumbered because people want their guns and they want their rights. But again, just because you have the right to do something doesn't necessarily mean you should.
And now this is going to conclude us talking on this issue. Right after this, I will be in the comment section responding to anything. I will, again, state more of my case with this. Rick will be doing the same. We'll be there having open conversations. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I want to hear your thoughts. Are you a gun owner? And if you can give me a logical reason on why you need the gun. Don't say because you hunt. Don't say because you collect. Don't say any of that. Don't say because I'm a sane, rational human. Give me actual reason. Don't say because the government possibly is going to overthrow you one day. Again, that's speculation. Like, I want something, cold hard facts on why you should be able to run this gun. Like, you should be able to have this. So, like I said, is there anything else you want to put over?
There's not. Again, our thoughts and prayers with everyone affected in Orlando tragedy and all the tragedies that happen every day that sometimes the media doesn't cover. It happens way too often, and I think our best bet is to just decide enough is enough and we don't need it anymore.
Take care, guys.